My name is Hester Booher, and I was 21 years old when my father told me I'd need to start paying rent if I wanted to keep living in his house. He didn't look at me when he said it. The paper slid across the kitchen table toward me, stopping just short of my elbow. A printed notice, clean font, neat margins. Rent due on the 1st. Utilities not included. No explanation attached. It was delivered with the same tone you'd use to ask someone to pass the salt. I stared at it longer than necessary, then nodded. Okay, I said, because what else was there to say? It was still home. Or at least, that was the word I kept using, even though the shape of it had changed the second they lowered my mother into the ground. Even though every room felt slightly misaligned now, like the house had shifted on its foundation and never bothered to settle back. That conversation had happened 4 months earlier. Since then, I'd transferred $750 every month, always on time. Never asked where it went, never questioned why. I treated it like a rule of physics, something fixed, unavoidable. I cleaned the kitchen after dinner. I kept my shoes lined up by the door. I stayed on my side of the house. I didn't bring friends over. I didn't make noise after 10. I didn't raise my voice. I learned how to be quiet in a way that didn't draw attention. That seemed to be what my father wanted. My older sister, Kayla, had no such problem. She called me once during those 4 months, said she was just checking in. Her voice had that stretched, bright tone she used when she wanted to sound concerned without having to follow through. Then she asked if I'd seen the necklace Dad bought her for graduating. I told her no. She sent a picture anyway. Gold chain, thick links, resting against her collarbone like it belonged there. She wrote that it was family money and that I shouldn't make things weird about it, so I didn't reply. I made dinner that night, ate it standing up, put my plate in the sink and went to bed without turning on the light. My 21st birthday came on a Thursday. I didn't expect anything, not a party, not gifts, not even a big moment, just something small, a nod, a happy birthday, proof I still registered in the room. We sat at the table together that evening, just the 3 of us. My father poured wine into 2 glasses, one for himself, one for Kayla. None for me. I noticed, but I didn't say anything. I'd learned that silence moved things along faster. Then he tipped the bottle too far. Red wine spilled across the table, soaked into the sleeve of my shirt, warm and spreading. I sucked in a breath and pushed his hand away without thinking. He laughed. That's just to disinfect a poor girl, he said, smiling like he'd landed a joke. Then, just as casually, he added, go ahead and transfer the $300,000 to your sister. For a second, I thought I'd misheard him. I looked at Kayla. She didn't react, just twirled her fork and kept eating, like this was a normal thing to ask over dinner. When she finally glanced up, she smirked. Something inside my chest dropped. Not pain exactly, more like a door closing quietly. Later that night, I reached for a piece of bread. His hand snapped around my wrist. Ask first, he said. His grip wasn't tight, but it was deliberate. Kayla didn't even pause. He's right. I stared at my plate. My throat felt thick. I nodded. Okay, I said. The next morning, they left for a 2-week cruise. Kayla posted a picture of the ship's deck within the hour. Blue water, champagne glass. Captioned, when you do things right, life gives you luxury. When I came home from work that evening, my key didn't fit. I tried it again. Same result. There was a typed note taped to the door, folded once, precise. Go stay with Grandma. I didn't knock. I didn't call. I sat down on the porch, pulled my hoodie over my head, and waited for the sun to go down. I was still wearing black. I told myself it was temporary. That grief had sharpened my father into someone colder. That loss had stripped something soft from him and replaced it with rules and invoices. I told myself that if I stayed quiet, if I stayed useful, it would pass. Inside the house, Kayla had taken over the master bedroom. She called it Mom's room, though she'd repainted it pale green and said it helped with her migraines. I offered to help her move boxes once. She looked at me and said, "You're still here?" The day after they left, I checked the mailbox. Bills, flyers, one card. It was from Grandma. No return address, just my name, written carefully. Inside was $50 and a note in shaky handwriting. You're not invisible to me. Use this for something sweet. You always made my tea just right. I hadn't seen her in years. They said she was too far gone, but she remembered. She'd changed her username. New bio, new captions. Dad commented on every post. Proud of you. He'd never commented on anything I shared, not even the fundraiser I ran when Mom was sick. I closed the app. Then my phone buzzed. A notification from the bank. New authorized user added. The account was the one Mom had opened with me when I was 16. She'd said it was for emergencies, for college, for someday. I logged in. The balance was almost gone, and that was when I understood. This wasn't grief. This was a decision. I sat there on the porch as the sky went dark, listening to the quiet hum of a house that no longer wanted me. And I felt erased. I didn't go to Grandma's. I don't know why that matters, but it does. The note on the door told me to, like it was a favor, like I was being redirected instead of shut out. But I didn't want to show up with my life folded into 2 grocery bags and pretend it was a visit. So I slept in my car, 2 streets over, under a tree that dropped sap on the windshield. Hoodie pulled up, windows cracked just enough to let air in. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself it was a choice. I even said it out loud once, just to hear how it sounded. It's fine. The next morning, I checked the mailbox again. Habit, I guess. Bills don't stop just because you do. That's when I found the card from Grandma. No return address. Just my name, written carefully, like each letter mattered. To my brave girl. Inside was a $50 bill and a note in her shaky handwriting. You're not invisible to me. Use this for something sweet. You always made my tea just right. I hadn't seen her in years. They said she was too far gone, that visits confused her, that it was better this way. But she remembered. She remembered me. I sat on the curb and read that line over and over until my chest hurt. Then I folded the bill back into the card and slid it into my pocket like it was something fragile. That afternoon, I opened Kayla's social media again. I don't know why I did it. It felt like pressing on a bruise just to confirm it was still there. She'd posted another photo from the cruise. White robe, champagne flute, her feet stretched out on a teak deck chair. The caption read, "Manifesting Abundance." Her username used to be Kayla Survivor 94. She'd changed it. Now it was just her name, clean and polished, like she'd shed something inconvenient. Dad had commented underneath. Couldn't be prouder. He never commented on anything I posted. Not even the fundraiser I ran when Mom was first diagnosed. I'd raised over $3,000 in 5 days. He told me it was performative. I closed the app. Then my phone buzzed again. This time, it was an email from the bank. Account update. New authorized user added. My stomach tightened. It was the savings account Mom had opened with me when I was 16. She'd called it our emergency account. Said it was just for us. College, maybe a trip someday, something safe. I logged in. The balance stared back at me. $31.74. There were 5 recent withdrawals. Cruise expenses. Spa treatments. A cash transfer to KT Designs, Kayla's Etsy page. She'd made a vision board once and called it a business. I scrolled further. The account permissions had changed. Dad was now the primary holder. Kayla was listed as co-owner. I was secondary. I hadn't been notified. Then I saw something else. An attached account I didn't recognize. A trust. The title read, Education and Security Fund. Names listed, JT and KT. Balance, $300,000. Date opened, 6 weeks before Mom died. My name wasn't anywhere on it. That was when the dinner table came back to me. The wine, the smile. Transfer the $300,000. So that's what he meant. I stared at the screen until it blurred, then locked my phone and sat there, breathing through it. Slowly, deliberately. Like if I stayed calm, the ground wouldn't fall out from under me. I went to the garage that evening. The door still opened for me then. Inside, in the corner, was the black duffel bag Mom used to keep packed. Her earthquake bag, she called it. Beans, flashlight, old sweaters. I unzipped it. At the bottom was a folder. Inside, a copy of the house deed. She'd written on it in faded blue ink near the margin, "If anything happens to me, make sure she's safe." An arrow pointed to my name. I sat down right there on the concrete floor, cold seeping through my jeans, and stared at her handwriting until my hands stopped shaking. The mailbox rattled again. This time, it was a letter from the Homeowners Association, addressed to Mr. T and Miss Kayla T. They'd crossed out Mom's name. Mine was never there to begin with. Inside the house, the fridge was almost empty. 3 containers sat on the shelf. One labeled Kayla's Juice, Do Not Touch. Another, Dad's Lunch. The third was empty. On the lid, a note in block letters. You can label yours, too. No name, no smiley face, just that. That night, I ordered takeout and ate it cold, standing by the sink. Then I opened my email and searched for old threads from Mom. I found one. Subject line, "For when I'm gone." It had a password, just numbers. Inside was a draft, not a formal will, just notes, names, thoughts she hadn't had time to organize. Next to my name, she'd written, "Not the loud one, but the one who stays." I read that line until it stopped feeling like words. The next morning, Kayla sent a voice note. "Hey, can you move your stuff out of the downstairs closet? I'll need space for my cruise clothes when we get back. Thanks. Love you." She said, "Love you," like punctuation. Then Dad texted, "Rent's due tomorrow. Also, don't forget to forward the mail." Nothing about my birthday. Nothing about the locks. Nothing about the note on the door. I didn't reply. I packed what was still mine. The hoodie, the desk lamp, the photo of Mom and me from graduation. Then I walked to the front door, opened it, stepped out, and closed it slowly behind me until I heard the lock click. Not a slam, not a goodbye. Just the sound that means this time it isn't temporary. 5 days later, an email came. Subject, transfer agreement pending. Sender, T Family Trust Holdings. As discussed, please confirm final transfer of full ownership to Miss Kayla T, per Mr. T's directive. Beneficiary adjustments finalized. Deed processing will be complete by month's end. I read it twice. Then again, Miss Kayla T. Beneficiary adjustments. My hands went cold. I didn't know we had a family trust. Didn't know anything was being transferred. And I definitely didn't know I'd been cut out on purpose. I didn't realize I was holding my breath until I let it out. The email stayed open on my screen long after my phone dimmed. Mr. T's directive. The phrasing stuck to me. Clean, official, final. This wasn't an oversight. This wasn't paperwork gone wrong. This was intention. A few hours later, I drove to the bank. Not the big one downtown, but the smaller branch on Elm. The one Mom used to like because the tellers remembered her name. My hands shook on the steering wheel the whole way there, even though my face felt strangely calm. Miss Helen was still behind the counter. She looked up when I said my name and frowned, just slightly, like something didn't line up. "I wanted to ask about a trust," I said. "If anything's changed." She didn't answer right away. Instead, she leaned in, lowering her voice. "There were some updates," she said carefully. "Your father and sister signed them last week." My throat tightened. "And me?" She hesitated. That pause told me everything. "You're not listed anymore," she said. "I assumed you knew." I asked her to print it. She did, slowly, like she was afraid the paper might bite. When she slid it across the counter, my name was there, but only in the history. Revoked, removed, reassigned. "It used to list you as primary on the house," she added quietly. "Your mother was very clear about that." I stared at the signature box at the bottom of the page. Hester Boer, removed by successor cosigners. It felt like reading my own obituary. When I left the bank, I didn't go inside anywhere. I sat in my car and stared at the windshield until the world felt distant again. Then my phone buzzed. A text from Kayla. It was a photo. Her on the cruise deck, mimosa in hand. Dad in the background, sunglasses on, shirt open, raising his glass. The caption read, "Family forever. No dead weight this time." I didn't blink, didn't move. A few minutes later, another message came through, a number I didn't recognize. "Hey, sorry to message you out of the blue. I'm Kayla's old roommate. I found something you might want to see." Attached was a screenshot. A group chat titled Trust Talk. My name appeared in the messages, but never spelled out, just she. She's soft, still thinks they love her. Let her pay rent while we secure the deed. Then we change the locks. Simple. A laughing emoji followed. Then another message, this one from Kayla. "Dad, sometimes you've got to cut the dead branch to save the tree." That was the moment. Not the rent, not the locks, not even the money. The moment I understood they hadn't pushed me out. They'd planned it. Together. I wasn't forgotten. I was erased. I opened my notes app and started typing. Not emotions, not questions, just facts. House deed, trust authority, utility bills, tax filings, mom's folder. Find what they missed, because they always miss something. Mom taught me that. The next morning, I drove to her storage unit. The code still worked. Inside were boxes she'd labeled in her neat handwriting. Winter, photos, taxes. At the bottom of one stack was a locked briefcase. I knew where the key would be, taped under the false drawer in her jewelry box, just like always. Next to it, in a velvet pouch, was another key, silver, worn smooth. A label was attached. Front door, copy, keep safe. Inside the briefcase was everything. A notarized amendment to her will, dated 6 weeks before she died. A USB drive, and a photo of me at 7 years old, asleep on her lap. On the back, she'd written, "For the one who stays." The amendment was clear. The house went to me, fully. If contested, it transferred to her legal trustee, not my father. Not Kayla. Her best friend, Paula. I called her. She answered like she'd been waiting. By that afternoon, the real will was filed. The trust lawyer confirmed it in writing. All previous amendments null. Title reverts immediately. I went back to the house. My house. The silver key still fit. Inside, nothing had changed. Cruise photos on the counter, notes on the fridge. I unplugged the router, shut off every breaker except the fridge. Then I left a letter in the mailbox. "You planned your way into a house that never belonged to you. Now, plan your way out." I signed it the same way Mom had. The one who stays. That night, I plugged in the USB. The video loaded slowly. Mom sat at the kitchen table. No wig, no makeup, just her. "If you're watching this," she said softly, "it means they did exactly what I feared." She smiled, tired but sure. "They think the house proves who mattered most. Let them think that. You don't need the house. You just need the truth." As the screen went dark, she leaned closer and whispered something I had to replay 5 times to hear. "Make it clean. Then cut all ties." I sat there for a long time. Then I opened my browser and listed the house. Private sale, cash only. Because it was never about staying. It was about leaving on my terms. They landed on Wednesday. Flight 782 from Santorini. 40 minutes late. I didn't know that because I cared. I knew because precision mattered now. Because when you stop reacting and start planning, details become tools instead of burdens. Kayla posted a story as soon as they touched down. A blurred airport selfie, sunglasses still on. Captioned, "Back to reclaim what's ours." I watched from 2 houses down. The porch camera was synced to my phone. The feed was steady, quiet, too quiet. The kind of quiet that only exists right before something collapses. My father tried the front door first. The keypad blinked red. He tried again, slower this time, then faster. His shoulders stiffened. Kayla stepped past him, heels clicking sharply on the concrete, already annoyed. She tried the code herself. Red light. Her mouth tightened. She circled the house, muttering, went around back. The alarm screamed the moment she touched the handle. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Unauthorized access detected. Kayla kicked the door. Once. Then again. A sandal flew off her foot and landed in the yard. She screamed my name like it was a curse. That was when the sedan pulled up. 2 legal representatives stepped out. Calm. Unrushed. Like they'd done this before. "Miss Kayla T," one of them said evenly. "You are trespassing." They handed over envelopes. Kayla ripped hers open, scanned the page, then tore it in half and threw it into the bushes. My father read his slowly, every line, his face drained of color. Inside the envelopes were copies of everything. The sale agreement, the utility shut-off notices, the screenshots from the group chat. Dead weight. Simple plan. No commentary, no explanation, just proof. "I'm not used to consequences," my father said quietly, like that meant something. They left without another word. No call, no message. They already knew. But I wasn't finished. The next morning, I drove to Grandma's apartment. This time, I knocked. She opened the door and stared at me for a long second, then smiled like she'd been expecting me all along. I handed her a folder. Inside was the original trust document from 2019. The clause Mom had added quietly, the one that transferred everything to me if coercion or misconduct occurred. Paula's note was clipped to the front. She made it impossible for them to erase you. We filed it that afternoon. The clerk stamped it once, then again. Final. 3 days later, a letter arrived from the trust office. Amendment executed. New beneficiary confirmed. Previous beneficiaries removed. Oversight transferred. They hadn't just lost the house. They'd lost the future they were counting on. Kayla tried to rewrite the story. She went online, filmed herself crying in her car, saying her sister had stolen their legacy. The comments turned fast. Someone leaked the screenshots. Another posted the trust language. The top reply read, "You didn't lose a house. You got evicted from your own fiction." She deleted the video. Then her account. Dad's job ended mutually. A neighbor told me they'd moved behind a tire shop. I didn't check. I didn't need to. I sent Grandma $50,000. Not repayment. Gratitude. The rest I kept for peace, for time, for choices. I sold the house quietly, packed only what mattered. Mom's scarf, one photo of us on the porch, barefoot, her hand on my shoulder. I moved states, signed a new lease, used my full name again. Before I left, I scheduled one last email. No greeting, no subject line. "You didn't lose me. You gave me the door." Then I shut the laptop and stepped onto my own porch. This one was mine.